Hey everyone, as you may know, I'm a huge World War I enthusiast. The Great War board game I've been developing is finally ready to be kickstarted. In this video, I will be showcasing an entire battle of Iron Resolve Western Front and explain how the game is played. If you like the project, you can head over to Kickstarter and back this project to get your own copy of this really engaging war game. I need at least 100 backers to cover the production costs and make this a reality. The Great War was a titanic conflict between many nations, but even the most ambitious campaigns were made up of smaller battles. Armies would often bitterly fight for every inch of ground. That is exactly what Iron Resolve is all about. Let's set up the battlefield. Despite the seemingly hopeless stalemate of trench warfare that has been established on the front lines, as local commander, it is your duty to lead the troops into battle. In this war of attrition, your forces are stretched to their limit, so you will have to make do with whatever can be spared. Through your strategic expertise and iron resolve, you must hold the line, or capture that of the enemy. The battle is fought 1 versus 1. I do have plans to make it playable for 4 people as well, but that will be explained later at the end of the video. We'll be fighting the Germans versus the French on the Western Front in 1918. The game is quite modular. You can play setups ranging from 1914 to 1918 and complement them with different scenarios. Right now I will showcase the default setup, which is in 1918. Warfare had changed quite a bit. Many technological breakthroughs had made different weapons possible. The invention of gas, airplanes, flamethrowers, and tanks introduced new horrors on the battlefield as never seen before. Both players get a similar deck of cards that contain military means for you to deploy during the battle. These are split in 11 ordnance cards, 11 weapon cards, and 10 equipment cards. These all play an important role in trying to achieve victory. The ordnance and weapon cards have corresponding templates that can be placed on the board to attack the enemy. Ordnances can be placed all over the board, while weapons can only be placed by infantry units. You'll be able to choose between artillery, gas attack, airplanes, machine guns, flamethrower, and grenades. Each belongs to a category of bullets, chemical, and explosive weapons. Some weapons were more available than others. For example, you will have more artillery strikes than airplanes, and only a few flamethrowers while having loads of grenades. In addition to these templates, your units on the board have their own control zone. Singular infantry units control the tile they're standing on. This means enemy units cannot walk there, or else they get killed. If you double up with 2 infantry on a single tile, you increase the range of control they have. There can even be 3 units on a single tile, but this does not increase their range. The tank cannot share its tile with any other units, but it always has a control zone of 2. The tanks can only be harmed by explosives or other tanks, and ignore the enemy infantry control zone. This makes it a very strong unit. The turret is similar, but it cannot be moved. Barbed wire blocks the way for infantry and can even kill them. Tanks can drive over it safely and destroy it, but it will slow them down significantly. If you play an early war scenario, there are also cavalry that will be able to charge at infantry units but not capture trenches. The 10 equipment cards will provide your infantry troops with a special boost on the turn where they are revealed. For example, the gas mask makes them immune to the gas attack, allowing them to ignore it. You get 5 different effects with 2 of each card. The other ones are the whistle, which allows infantry to move faster, the bayonet, which allows infantry to charge into the enemy's infantry control zone. With the shovel, infantry can quickly dig themselves in and prevent casualty, and the barbed wire cutter allows infantry to destroy barbed wire, similar to the tank. There are bunkers, forward saps, communication trenches, and shell holes. Every battle the layout will be different because we use the dice to randomize the battlefield. Then we start by putting 8 infantry units in our trench and placing our barbed wire. Barbed wire can only be placed in pairs next to each other, with at least one of them next to an infantry unit. This simulates the infantry rolling out the wire over no man's land. Tanks are deployed on the rear line and turrets can only be placed on the bunker tiles. The goal is to get as many of your infantry units into the opponent's trench to score victory points. Meanwhile, you must prevent the enemy from capturing yours. Both players now choose an equipment card that will be placed on their first turn slot. Roll a dice and the highest rolling player will have the first turn. In this playthrough, the Germans will start first. Because going first has the advantage of moving first, the other player can already place 1 ordnance and weapon on the board. Pick an ordnance and weapon card from your deck and discard these. Then place the corresponding template on the battlefield, where you think it will have a maximum effect against the opponent. If you don't want to because there are no good targets, you don't have to play these cards, and instead you can save them for later. However, you can only play 1 of each every turn, so you may end up ending the game without having played all your cards. Now the German side will start. A player's turn is split into 4 phases. The first phase is getting reinforcements on the board. By default, you get 2 points to spend from your pool of reinforcements. Each unit has a different point cost. Infantry cost 1, tanks cost 2. For barbed wire, you get 2 for the price of 1, and turrets also cost 1. Now you can also choose to reveal your equipment card to activate the card's effect this turn. Alternatively, if you don't activate it, you get 1 extra reinforcement instead, and you don't have to reveal the card. The next phase is casualties. Every unit that is caught on an unsafe tile, for example because it's under attack by an enemy ordnance or their control zone, you must move that unit 1 space away to a safe tile. If this is not possible, the unit dies and goes back to your reinforcement pool. After moving your troops to safety, every infantry unit caught outside of cover must roll a dice. No Man's Land was a dangerous place to be. Even if the enemy wasn't directly shooting at you, troops could be caught by stray bullets or shrapnel coming from either side. To simulate the danger of No Man's Land, on a roll of 1 they die and return to the reinforcement pool. If you have the shovel equipped, your units quickly dug their own cover, and then you can skip this step. The next phase are the battlefield orders. This is where you as a commander can truly shine and outsmart your opponent. You start by placing an ordnance on the board. Next up, you can move all your units 3 tiles. If you have the whistle equipped, your infantry run extra fast and can move 4 tiles. Once you have moved all the troops into position, you can place a weapon. The weapon is deployed by an infantry unit and must be placed next to them with the triangle on the template indicating the direction. As you may understand, getting all your troops and weapons into the right position on the battlefield can be quite challenging. In this way, people who are familiar with chess will feel right at home. In the final phase, you end your turn by picking an equipment card from your hand and placing it face down on the next turn slot. On your next turn, the effect can be activated, so choose wisely in advance. This goes back and forth until both players have played 10 turns. Scoring points by reaching the other trench is quite challenging, as the opponent will do everything to stop you. For every infantry that ends its movement phase in the enemy's trench, you get 1 point. These are called war bonds. In Iron Resolve, you're only battling for a tiny portion of the front line, but scoring a decisive victory here can sway the course of the entire war. For history enthusiasts who frequently play board games together, it can be fun to start in 1914 and fight multiple battles all the way to 1918. The scenarios you can play are based on historical battlefields like Verdun, Passchendaele, and Hill 66. An example of a scenario is the Battle of Ypres, in which the Germans performed their first large-scale gas attack that caught the Allies by surprise. To simulate this, the German player gets all gas attack ordnance and gas mask cards from his opponent. The Hill 66 scenario has a special mine detonator equipment card which the allied player can use to ignite the mine and blow up a chunk of the defender's trenches. The game will be available through Kickstarter. I need at least 100 backers to get the costs of production to a reasonable level. Additionally, I will be releasing a print and play version which contains all the digital files required to make the game at home with the help of a 3D printer. I've already put a lot of work into developing a version for 4 players to play at once in a 2 versus 2 setup. Because the board is folded in 6 sides, you can put 2 boards together to expand the battlefield. If the first launch is successful, then I will continue developing this edition, which will be released as a standalone Eastern Front expansion featuring Austria, Hungary, and Russia. Don't hesitate to back the Kickstarter campaign and get your own copy of Iron Resolve Western Front.